Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to take a look at the top 12 best Hearthstone decks in the game right now, when we're a couple of weeks into having Knights of the Frozen Throne cards in the meta alongside the regular Castle Nathria cards. And I have to say that the experimentation phase with the Frozen Throne cards, that went by pretty quickly. We had around 1 week, a bunch of cards were used. Now, out of these 12 decks, there are only 2 cards from Knights of the Frozen Throne that are being used in these decks. Then there are a few more that are being used in a little bit weaker decks, like the Frostlich Jaina hero card is not used in the best mage deck, but it is used in some mage decks that you can play. And then Druid, Ramp Druid is using Spreading Plague, so there's that. Also about that Spreading Plague and Ramp Druid it's the most popular deck in the game right now, but it really does not have the numbers to justify that position. It's not even a 50% win rate deck, it's barely 50% win rate deck. And also the significant presence of Ramp Druid kind of warps the meta, because there are decks that are good against Ramp Druid that are here on this list that would be lower if Ramp Druid wasn't such a big presence on the ladder. And I really have a hard time justifying that. I have a hard time justifying the big presence of Thief Rogue as well. Thief Rogue at least is a pretty decent deck in the current meta. I mean, it is one of these 12 decks, but Ramp Druid isn't. So it's a strange meta where people just don't seem to care too much about playing the absolute perfect deck, and instead are just playing whatever they feel like, as long as it's like roughly around 50% at least. Be that as it may, one of the decks that has managed to climb to the top 12, managed to climb to viability in this meta, thanks to Knights of the Frozen Throne cards, is Phylactery Warlock. Phylactery Warlock is also the first combo deck that we have had on this list for a very long time. And Defile. Defile is the card that makes this deck. Defile, that board clear, just that survivability, just makes it possible for Phylactery Warlock to live long enough to get to the combo and kill people. So, combo deck on the top list for the first time in Castle Nathria. At number 11 we have Fel Demon Hunter. Aggro Demon Hunter is the real meta Demon Hunter deck at the moment, but Fel Demon Hunter is also playable. You can play with those relics. You still have a lot of similarities between this and the Aggro Demon Hunter, but this one has the relic package, Jace, Zillag. It's a little bit slower. Aggro Demon Hunter is like all about going in and then doesn't have a lot of top end, whereas this one still has some potential aggression, but mostly it's a slower deck that really punishes even slower decks by just overwhelming power in the mid game. And the 10th best deck in the game right now is Thief Rogue, and actually, if Ramp Druid wasn't being overplayed so much, Thief Rogue would be a couple of positions higher, because Thief Rogue seems to be doing pretty well. It's pretty decent against Naga Priest, and it's pretty decent against some of these other aggressive decks that are very common in the meta right now, and that's a big asset for a deck. And yeah, Rogue decks have been hovering around at these lower ranks of the top meta list, and this time it's Thief Rogue. And the 9th best deck in the game is Control Paladin. Control Paladin list has not changed by a card. This is still the exact same list I recommended like 2.5 weeks ago, before Knights of the Frozen Throne cards were added to the game. And Control Paladin's main asset in this meta also is its ability to fight against Naga Priest, its ability to fight against some of these aggressive decks. It is weaker than Thief Rogue in the mirror, so why is Control Paladin better deck than Thief Rogue? Well, because Ramp Druid. Ramp Druid is worse matchup for Thief Rogue, but if Ramp Druid numbers go down, then I could totally see Thief Rogue overtaking Control Paladin as a premium anti-aggro option. And coming in at number 8 we have Ping Mage. Ping Mage has finally overtaken Big Spell Mage as the best mage list. Big Spell Mage is still around 50%, so yeah, Big Spell Mage is still playable, but Ping Mage right now is just clearly better. And the 7th best deck in the game is Aggro Druid. Aggro Druid, there's a little bit of experimentation going on with Aggro Druid, not a whole lot. Mostly it's about whether to put Power of the Wild in the deck, and if you put Power of the Wild in the deck, then which card do you replace. This list replaces 1 copy of Crude Cook with a Power of the Wild, then there's a list that replaces 1 copy of Mark of the Wild with Power of the Wild. Just little, small, probably quite insignificant changes really. But this one appears to be the best one at the moment. And the premium Demon Hunter deck at the moment is the fastest one. So coming in at number 6, we have Aggro Demon Hunter. The curve topper card is Kurtrus Demon Render at 6 mana. The second most expensive card in this list costs only 4 mana, which is the Sightless Magistrate. So this deck is really all about getting in there and dealing damage as fast as possible. At number 5, we have Curse Imp Warlock. Curse Imp Warlock and Imp Warlock have been fighting which one is the better deck. Curse Imp Warlock is a little bit slower, it's a little bit stronger against slow decks. Imp Warlock is a little bit faster, it's not as vulnerable against aggressive decks as the slower Curse Imp Warlock variant, and it really depends on the meta which one is better. Neither list has changed for many weeks now, for months now. So Curse Imp Warlock is the exact same list that you could have been playing for several months here. So if Curse Imp Warlock is your thing, it's still a reliable deck. But at the start of the video I said that there are 2 Knights of the Frozen Throne cards in this top list. The first one was Defile in Phylactery Warlock, and the second one is fun, because the second one is a card that was not playable when it was introduced. It's the Animated Berserker, which is played in Enrage Warrior. But it's a really strong fit to the current Enrage Warrior deck. It has actually made Enrage Warrior a little bit better, and Enrage Warrior just keeps climbing up these ranks. It has a lot of strengths, it has a lot of weaknesses, but overall, Enrage Warrior is actually a playable deck. And at number 3 in the current meta, we have the faster variant of Imp Warlock. No curses, just imps. Well, there is a side Denaturus on the top, and yeah, it's just good. It hasn't changed for a long time, but you can play with it still. Currently the second best deck in the game. Some people would argue that this is the best deck in the game. Well, it could be. Yeah, that's conceivable. There is no one super deck around in this meta at all, so it's much more a close call. But I would still say Naga Priest is the second best deck in the game at the moment. As for Naga Priest lists, well, not much has happened. This list is one card different than the one I showcased last time. One of the school teachers has been replaced with a Nayak Hexen, and that seems like a slight improvement. But the double school teacher list is also still being played, so really doesn't make much of a difference, but this might give you a tiny bit of an edge. And yeah, that best deck in the game, you know, even though it's not that played at the moment, but Beast Hunter still has the numbers. Beast Hunter is doing extremely well in the meta. There are 2 variants, they are basically even. There's the variant with imported Tarantulas, and then there's this variant with Insatiable Devourers. It doesn't really matter which variant you play. I showcased the Tarantula list last time, that's still perfectly playable. I looked at the stats and thought that this was maybe doing a little bit steadier job, but they're very close. Either way, they're both jam-packed with legendary cards, and then they just win through overwhelming power. And Beast Hunter still the best deck in the game. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.